All right, I'm giving it a second try. Not real sure what was going on there. I hope that I did it right this time. I don't know. Facebook's changed its the way it looks again. Okay, well, there's two people, so I know at least I am connected. It's really weird. Facebook keeps changing things that were not broken. I'm not real sure I understand why that is, but yeah, I see Brenda and Anita. Oh, there's Katie. Hey, I have no idea what happened just a few minutes ago. I tried to go live, but like something was, yeah. Katie says Facebook's being weird again. I know, the interface that I'm looking at is way different. That's why I was like, I feel like I'm in the wrong place. I don't know. It's always a struggle with Facebook. I'm straightening out my silk cord as we're chatting, you guys. So I don't know if anybody heard any of the things that I said the first time I tried to go live. So let's try this again. I missed you guys over the weekend. I hope that you had a nice weekend, a great Mother's Day weekend. My back is killing me, you guys. Ugh. So we, for the paid group on Friday night, we had our Friday Night Live, and it was so much fun. So if you are not part of the paid group this month, but you would like to be a part of the paid group next month when enrollment opens again, and of course, I'll give you a heads up for when all of that happens, we would love to have you because we had such a nice time. We had our question and answer session over the project that we did last week, and then we just spent some time hanging out with each other. It was so nice. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, I definitely suggest that, you know, maybe next month when enrollment is open again, that you come and join us because we had a really good time and we've got a great project for this week. We have great projects for here this week as well, I gotta tell you. So we are revisiting pearl knotting because somebody had asked about that. In fact, a couple of you chimed in when that was brought up and suggested that I do just that. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do some pearl knotting today. And let's see, I'm already working on kits. I actually had a request about something, so I have made a kit that is part of a project request. So those will be coming up on Friday. I've got 2 kits ready already. I'm going to try to come up with 1 more before Friday. As far as Thursday is concerned, a lot of things going on Thursday, actually. So Thursday we'll have our regular live, and I am open to suggestions for what you guys would like to see for that project. The reason that I'm always open for suggestions, but the reason that I am bringing it up today is because today we're going to be working on pearl knotting again, and this is kind of we're revisiting the technique. But we're not doing the start and finish thing that you do when you're making like a bracelet, which we did once before. So my question to you guys is, after today's project, would you like to see the starting and finishing technique for pearl knotting again? Because we're not doing it today, we're just doing the technique of the actual knotting. So just let me know. If not, I can plan for something else on Thursday. But that is that's open for, you know, I'm open for suggestions on that one. Let's see what else. So Thursday, if you're part of the paid group, we have a special guest, an extra live for the week on Thursday night. But that hadn't happened yet. We're just not getting there, right? We're working our way there. Not going to speed through the week too much. So, all right, what else do I have in store for you guys? I'm not real sure. I think I've covered all of my bases before we get started with today's project. So for today's project, we are going to revisit pearl knotting. I'm going to show it to you guys. We're going to put together a really pretty necklace. I'm going to show you how to turn around with your pearls for this kind of design. And I honestly have not put this design together, so this is sort of a design on the fly. But yeah, I hope you guys like it. I think it's going to be beautiful if it turns out like I envision it. You know how that goes. So, all right, I'm going to turn you guys around. We're going to talk about what I have in front of me, and we're going to get started with our project for the day. All right, turn it around. Okie dokie, guys. So what do I have in front of me for our project for today? Well, I've got some pearls. And these I got these from Michael's. I've had these for a while, and I pulled them off of the rack last night where my hanging stuff is. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is such a pretty kind of golden brown color. And when I read the description on the little thing, it says gray. I'm like, no, these are not gray pearls. I don't care who you are. That's not gray. Maybe it is in some light, but for me, this is like a golden kind of champagne with just like a little whisper of purple in it. It's not really what I would consider gray. I don't know, maybe you see gray, but I've got a handful of these pearls. Now, because we're not doing the starting and stopping technique with the wire guardians, because we're not doing like a straight design like that, I do not have any of these that I had to set aside and ream ahead of time, like an extra to give the holes a little extra room. But if you guys want to see that again, because we've done that once before, but if you want to see that again, we can do that on Thursday if you want. Totally up to you guys. Okay, so here's what I've got. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've got 2 sets of 13 pearls. Okay, so one for one side of our necklace and one group for the second side of our necklace. I also have some silk cord in front of me, and it is the silk cord that already has the needle on it. That's really, really important. Okay. And let's see, I'm using size 6 for this, and I'm crossing my fingers that the size 6 will make a knot big enough that it doesn't slip through the holes of our pearls, because I can tell just by looking at that one, like that's a pretty large hole for a pearl. So you may need number 8 if the 6 is not going to work. We're going to cross our fingers though. I'm really, really hopeful that the 6 will be plenty big enough. Also have 2 bead tips. And these little clamshell guys are what we are going to start and finish our design with. So we're not going to do the traditional method for knotting pearls where we go through the coiled wire or, the French wire or a wire guardian. So you're not going to need anything fancy other than just 2 bead tips for today's project. Okay, you do need to have your knotting tool because you can't do this without your knotting tool. And that's what we're going to focus on today, is we're going to focus on the technique again, because you guys love to see this one and it's one of my favorite things to do. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through it nice and slow so that anybody who missed the first time that we did a project using the knotter tool, you'll be caught up for sure. Okay. Some of the other things that I have are just not necessarily necessities, but just for things for our necklace. So I've got some faux suede lace in a gray. I have 2 rings. These are tiara cast rings. What else do I have? Just some jump rings and a pendant and some beads. All of that is going to, all that's going to come into play a little bit later. Okay. So don't really need to focus on any of that at the moment. We just want to focus on one set of the pearls and a bead tip. Somebody said they love my crown ring. Thank you. Thank you. It's a stack. But isn't that cool? I love it. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so let's see. What we want to do is you want to take your silk cord off of the card, and you want to give it a good stretch as much as you can. You're still going to have some little kinks in it. If you feel like you need to iron it, or if you want to wet it and let it dry, you can certainly do that. I don't have time for that, so I'm just going to leave it just like it is. I've never really had much problem not pre-stretching it or soaking it or anything like that. I feel like the silk on the silk cards, or the silk cord that comes on the cards, has come a long way over the years. And a lot of it you'll find has been pre-stretched, so you don't have to worry about things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the end that doesn't have a knot in it, and I'm going to tie a knot. And I'm actually going to do a surgeon's knot. So I'm going to just make my little loop just like I would with a normal knot, right? And I'm going to loop through once with my tail and then a second time. Okay, so I'm looping through twice. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a little chunkier monkey knot. It's going to create sort of like a little barrel knot, which is just a little bit thicker than just a plain overhanded knot. Okay, so there is that guy. Now, one thing I forgot to grab is my hypo cement. Let me see here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to come down to the other end that has my needle on it. And I'm going to take one of, oh, I guess I don't have to thread my bead tip on. I forget that these are different than the other ones. Okay, so if you've got the kind of bead tip where you need to thread it on, in fact, let me grab one so I can show you, because I didn't realize this was different. So bead tips are going to come in a couple of different varieties, and the ones that I use the most often, let me show you what they look like. Hold on. I'm going to dig one out of my little bucket here. Okay, so the ones I normally use, they look like this. So you have to thread through that hole right there. In fact, maybe I'll use that instead, because I'm just not, I don't know how I feel about this one. That's what I'll do. Okay, I'm going to use the one I'm used to. These work just as well. You just don't have to thread through them. All you do is you just place your bead, or I'm sorry, you place your knot in there with a little bit of glue and close this up. And that's perfectly fine. There's no reason why you can't use that. I mean, that's what it's for. But, I don't know. Just not, that's not my normal. That's not what I normally use. So let's stick with what I know. Okay, so I'm going to thread on this one because you do have to thread it on. I'm going to thread through the center. I'm going to pull that all the way down here. Whoops. Well, I'm not going to do anything until I pull out this knot in my cord. Of course. There we go. Okay, so there. I'm going to pull this all the way down. Okay, so that my knot is right up against that hole where I thread that on. Now what I need to do is I need to open up my hypo cement, and mine is messy. Like, look at that. Kathy's out there laughing at me because Kathy laughs at me every single time I get the hypo cement out and it has like all this gunk on the top. That's just kind of the way it is. So I just want to take a little drop of that and put it in the clamshell. I don't necessarily put it on the knot, but I put it in the clamshell itself. And then when I close it up, it's going to help to glue my knot, and it's going to help to kind of glue the clamshell together. So I'm going to squeeze the clamshell together with my fingers, but then I do like to come in with pliers and give it an extra, you know, an extra squeeze. You don't want to flatten it out though. Okay. So squeezing that down really well. And then I need to come in with some cutter and trim this off. I'm having a cutter conundrum. Oh no, at the moment. So we're going to hope that this one's sharp enough to cut. It is. Good. Oh, thank goodness. The cutters in my life right now are really giving me a hard time. I just spilled bead tips all over the floor. Okay, now what I'm going to do so that this doesn't get caught as I am working is I'm going to go ahead and take my round nose pliers and turn a loop on this guy. Just the tiniest little loop. Okay. If it'll focus, you can see it. Come on, iPad. Do your thing. There we go. So I just turn a little loop there. If you leave it, that hook has a tendency to get hooked on everything that you're working on. And I can't stand that. So, okay. Let me move this little tray out of the way so that I don't knock it over again. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to come back down here to the other end that has our needle, and we're going to thread on all of the pearls that go on this side of our necklace. Now remember, we're splitting our necklace into two sections. So there's one section and then our pendant and then the other section. So this is one side. So don't thread on every pearl that you've got. Split them into two. Okay, just two equal sides. We're going to go ahead and thread every single one of those on. I am really hopeful that my thread is going to be, the knots are going to be big enough. I like to use number 8 silk thread, but I didn't have any in this pretty gray color. So I'm using 6, which is pretty much the most common size you're going to find, I think, in like your big box stores at least. Okay, so I'm going to take out another knot here. Maybe. Come on now. It's hard when you're using a lot of thread because I don't want to cut any of this. ahead of time, right? Because I don't know how much I'm going to use. So I'm working with the entire length on the card, and of course the longer the length, the more prone it is to turning itself into knots. All right, so I'm going to pull this down pretty close to where my little bead tip is, okay? But not right up against it, not yet. Because the first thing we want to do is we want to create a knot right up against our little bead tip here, okay? So this, you guys, we've been through this before, but this is just a refresher. But for those of you who didn't see the first one, this may be new to you. So what we're going to do, let me try to explain. I know it may be backwards depending on how the iPad shows it to you, but this is my left hand, this is my right hand, okay? And the right hand is my dominant hand. I take my cord, it's coming through the palm of my non-dominant hand, okay? And I take it and I will wrap it around like 2 fingers, 3 fingers, okay? And then take my end through, okay? Wrap around my 2 fingers, okay? Take the tail and I'm gonna drop it in that hole. Does that make sense? It'll work. It'll look better when I have actual pearls in place. Okay. So just bear with me. Okay. So there, I dropped it through the hole there. I'm going to come in with my knotting tool. Now the knotting tool, the needle that's on it is, let's see. Katie wants to know, is the same process if you're using S-Lon instead of silk? Yes, this is the same process no matter what kind of string material you're going to be using. So our needle has this curve in it, right? You want that curve to be used as a hook, and you want to hook towards your dominant hand, and you want to come from behind. So I'm going to hook from behind that loop. I bring my finger up here to hold the tip just so that my cord doesn't slide off. And then I pull out the slack and pull my bead or your bead tip right up. Okay, as close as you can get it. Now you bring that around, thread that into the yoke, okay? And then using your thumb, you're gonna slide up and it's gonna deliver the knot right next to our bead tip in this case, but it's gonna be a pearl as we get going, okay? So you're gonna get to see that a bunch. So we're gonna take a pearl. We're going to slide a pearl down right up against that knot that we just created, okay? Now, same thing. I've got the cord in the palm of my non-dominant hand. I'm going to wrap it around my 2 fingers. I'm going to take my pearl and I'm going to drop it through the hole, okay? Now, coming in with my knotter tool, notice the curve. I'm going behind the loop to hook, put my finger in place, pull the slack out on my knot, pull it all the way up there to the side of the pearl. Now, place the cord in the yoke of the tool, pull pretty tight, and push up. And that's going to deliver your knot right next to your pearl. Okay? Now, slide down another pearl. Okay? Same thing. Wrap around your 2 fingers to make a loop. Take your pearls, drop them through that loop. Take your tool, hook it from behind, pull out the slack, bring the cord around to the front into the yoke, push up, and it'll deliver the knot. Okay? Now we're going to do that again. We're going to do this the entire length of this side. So slide down another pearl, 2 fingers, wrap around those 2 fingers to create a loop, drop all the pearls through the loop. Now as we go, and the longer this pearl section is going to get, it's going to be a little trickier, but you just keep dropping it down, okay? Your hook it from behind, going towards your dominant hand, pull out the slack, place it into the yoke, pull tight, deliver the knot. It's going to make a perfect knot every single time. And if you're pulling nice and tight, you're going to get you're going to get it right up against the bead every single time. There's no wiggle room in there, okay? There shouldn't be any wiggle room. If there's wiggle room, it'll drive you crazy. It drives me absolutely bonkers. So I normally will undo it and try again. So just keep that in mind, okay? If you got to be pulling tight, and it'll get that knot right up next to the bead. All right, slide down another pearl, 2 fingers, wrap around the 2 fingers to make a loop. Drop those down, okay? It's always a drop. You're never going to put them up through the bottom. It's always a drop down to your mat. Hook from behind, go towards your dominant hand, pull out the slack, pull it right up tight, thread goes into the yoke, and deliver your knot. Okay, and you'll see this is going to work up quickly when you get into the routine. If the cord is too small, could a surgeon's knot work? How would it slide for you? You can't do a surgeon's knot on your knotter tool. It has to be this kind of knot. So yeah, it won't slide for you. So pull a pearl down, wrap around 2 fingers, drop them all down through the loop that you made with your fingers, hook. And guys, it absolutely does matter, deliver your knot, which direction your tool is facing, okay? So in other words, let me show you. I'm going to pull this knot down, or I'm going to pull this pearl down right up against the knot we just made, okay? Wrap around my 2 fingers, drop all those pearls down through that loop I just made. Now, yes, it matters. Always go from behind out. Okay, so behind is the V of your fingers. Outwards is the opening of your fingers. Your tool is shaped in that direction. That's the way you want to hold it. Do not hook this way. If you hook this way, you're going to make a knot, but your knots are going to be inconsistent. They're not always going to come up and be right next to your pearl. And not only that, but you're going to be struggling. The wrap that's in this cord, you see how the cord is twisted? So when you go this direction and then you start to pull out your knot, it wants to fight against that natural twist that's already in your silk. And it'll work, but it does kind of damage the silk as you go. So it makes a huge, huge difference. Trust me, it will be a million times easier if you'll follow the steps just exactly like I'm showing them, instead of like trying to do it this way. Don't hook towards the inside V of your fingers. We're hooking to the outer V of the fingers, okay? It matters, trust me. Pull out the slack. Put that cord in the yoke and deliver your knot. So we're going to keep going. We got a few more pearls to go on this side. Okay, wrapping around our 2 fingers, dropping them all down. Okay, we're going to hook. I put my finger in place just so that the silk is a little slippery, and sometimes it'll just scoot right off the top of that needle. You don't have to, but I do, just as extra security. Make sure that I don't slide anything off as I'm working, okay? Pull tight in the yoke, push up with your thumb to deliver that knot. Okay, keep going. Okay, around 2 fingers, drop them all down, hook, pull out the slack, bring your cord into the yoke, and deliver the knot. And it'll be consistent every single time. Your knots are going in the same direction. They're evenly spaced. Around 2 fingers, drop it down, hook, pull out the slack, Okay, we've got 4 more to go, and then we're going to add our centerpiece. Okay, around 2 fingers. And notice that when I make my loop around my 2 fingers, so I go ahead and I spread my 2 fingers to make my V shape. The cord is underneath those 2 fingers, and I wrap to the outside edge, right? I'm going away from my body to make that loop, and then dropping all of those beads down through the middle. Okay. That again is also going to make a big difference as to the direction that you make the loop on your fingers. All of these things come into play when it comes to creating your knot and making your knots consistent every single time. Hook, pull out the slack, pull tight, and deliver your knot. Okay, same thing. Cord is underneath my hand, going away from my body to create the loop. Drop all the pearls down between my 2 fingers down into that hole or that loop. Hook, pull out the slack, pull it into the yoke, and deliver the knot. 2 more to go. Sasha says, is there a purpose for the pointy part being so sharp? Just to make sure that you're always on your toes. I have stabbed myself so many times, it's not even funny. I'm not real sure why it's so pointy. It doesn't necessarily need to be. I'm sure there's a reason for it, but I don't know what it is. That's a funny question and a good question. We should ask Wyatt. Wyatt would know. Okay, so this is the last pearl on this side of our necklace. So I drop that pearl down around my 2 fingers, drop all the pearls down through the center, hook with your tool, pull tight, and deliver our knot. Okay, so we've got one side ready to go. Okay. There's no wiggle room in between our pearls. They're all evenly spaced. Our knots are consistent. Looks really good. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our pendant to, uh-oh, I see a rogue pearl. This one got away from me. I've got 1 more pearl to go. I'm glad I saw it. This little guy was hiding. All right, so 1 more time. Around my 2 fingers, drop everything down through the hole. So we're going to add our pendant, or part of our pendant, to our necklace right now. Okay? So I've picked... Yeah, maybe to undo the unwanted knots. I think that's probably what it's for, and I've used it for that a bunch of times. So I'm going to take a large bead, okay, and I'm going to take, let's see here, a jump ring. And I haven't actually done this with this bead yet. I'm hoping, it looks like the hole on it's going to be big enough, so I think we should be good to go. Okay, so this is just the beginning of our pendant. Okay, we're going to add more to this later, but we have to do this part now. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to thread it on, or thread it through our big bead. Okay, pull that big bead down here. Next, I'm going to thread on a jump ring. And I'm going to bring that jump ring all the way down, right up next to our pendant as well, or our bead, the beginning of our pendant. It's not a pendant yet. Now, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to go back up through that bead. And that's going to hook our jump ring. Okay. And then I'm going to pull everything up, pull out all the slack. We're working with a lot of cord here. Got another knot. So what we're doing is the turnaround, and you do a turnaround in a lot of different beading techniques, but I like to use the turnaround in my knotting so that I don't use more than 1 piece of silk. I can continue with the same piece of silk for the whole length of the necklace. Now I'm holding onto the jump ring and I'm kind of pulling everything up nice and snug. So now what I have is the V portion of our necklace, right? It's going to come down to a V, and we're going to hang the rest of our fun stuff here when we get to that point. But I've hooked this jump ring in place with our silk cord, and we're ready to knot out the second half of our necklace. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to create a knot there before I thread on the rest of my pearls. Okay, so we're just going to treat this just like we would with everything else. 2 fingers, make my loop, drop everything down, make my hook, bring it all down right up next to our new bead that we added, our big bead here, and deliver our knot. Now that's just a matter of having 2 knots coming out of the bead. It, you know, does it matter that much? Probably not, but I want it to match on both sides. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the end with my needle, and I'm going to thread on all the rest of my pearls. So I'm going to thread on. I love the turnaround method. You can use it for so many different things. You can use it with stringing. You don't even have to do it with knotting. And it makes the nicest little V shape in the center of your necklace, if that's the look you're going for, right? If you want a definite deep V in your necklace where your pendant is going to hang and you don't want to rely on gravity so much, you know, or maybe your centerpiece is not heavy enough to really pull it down, then making your own V with the turnaround method is perfect. All right, so threading on all the rest of my pearls. I love pearl knotting. Can you guys tell? Like I'm so enthusiastic about teaching it because I love it so much. I just wish that there were, this pearl is giving me a hard time. I just wish that there were more things that I could show you with it, you know, because I love it so much. It's so fun and it's so easy once you get the hang of it. And it gives all of your beads, whether they're pearls or gemstones or glass, it just gives them such a luxurious feel because of the way the silk, or even your Eslon, nothing compares to silk, obviously, but it just gives everything such a fluid, you know, it just gives everything such a fluid feel to it. It just makes everything feel luxurious in my mind. That's just my opinion, though. All right, so again, we're just going to keep going like we were going. So I'm going to pull my pearls down, but I don't want them to be super close here because we're going to pull them down one at a time. In fact, I'm already ready to pull one down. So pulling one down, okay, and we're just going to keep going. So around my 2 fingers, drop down, okay, hook, pull tight, bring that into the yoke, and deliver your knot. Okay, now we're ready to just keep going. We're just going to build the other side of our necklace. It is about the drape. It's all about the drape. Okay, wrapping around 2 fingers, dropping everything through the middle. Hook. Bring your cord into the yoke and deliver your knot. Pull down, wrap around your 2 fingers, drop everything down, and it's getting a little, not harder, just a little more cumbersome because we have this extra bead in here that's kind of offset. So dropping them through doesn't, you know, it's not nearly as smooth a process, but it still works. Pull out the slack, deliver our knot. Hi, Wendy. Okay, pull down another pearl, wrapping 2 fingers, dropping everything down through the center. Hook. And pull. Bring your cord into the yoke and create your knot. Pull down another pearl, wrapping around your 2 fingers, Drop everything down, always down, dropping down through that hole or loop, whatever you want to call it. Okay, hook, going to the outside, right? Going to the outside, the open part of the V of your fingers. Pulling the knot. Cord goes into the yoke and deliver your knot. Okay. Around 2 fingers to the outside, away from your body to create your loop. Drop everything down into the center. Hook. Pull out all that slack. I don't know. So, hold on. Let's see. Where did it go? Where did it go? Donna says, now every time I do this, I will think of your words, Sarah, playing in my head. And I don't know if that's kind of a scary thing. I'm sorry. I know you mean that as like a good thing. You're gonna, you know, but to have me in your head, that's scary. All right. 2 fingers around. Drop everything down through your loop. Hook, pull out the slack, bring your cord into the yoke, and push to create your knot. Donna says, that's a great thing. I can't make a boo-boo. I don't know. I'll make a lot of boo-boos, that's for sure. All right, wrapping around, dropping everything down. Hook. Pull out the slack and deliver your knot. All right, we've got 4 more beads to go. Hey, Kara, how you doing? Okay, wrapping around the 2 fingers, dropping everything down. Uh-oh. Hook. Guys, I'll be doing a project very similar to this in, I believe in July, over on Michael's, where we do the pearls and the turnaround, and then we are making a leather tassel. All right, around my 2 fingers, drop everything down into the loop, hooking towards the outside, right? Coming to the back to hook. Into the yoke, deliver the knot. All right, 2 more to go. Round of 2 fingers, drop, hook, deliver the knot, and we've got 1 more to go. So somebody had asked, sorry, guys, I missed so many of the questions. Let's see. Sabrina had asked, what can you use if you don't have the tool that I'm using? So there are other knotting tools out there. There's the tabletop knotter. There's the, you know, the knotter tool that's flat. It's white with the peg in the middle. So all of those are going to give you knots, but of course the technique is going to be different. The technique that I'm showing you is just for a handheld knotter tool. So what I'm showing you here is not necessarily going to work with a different kind of tool, but you can still get knots. It's still possible to get great knots with different tools. This is just the technique for this one in particular. All right, so around the 2 fingers, dropping down through. This is my favorite. And of course it's a Beadalon product, so you know I'm a huge fan, but this is my favorite out of all the knotting tools that I've used. Beadalon has a tabletop knotter, and it works. It's just not my favorite. The handheld knotter will always be my favorite. Tried and true. Okay, so looks like I'm missing a pearl here because they're not even. I definitely am missing a pearl. So let me look around here. Where'd this pearl go? I know there is one. Just don't know where it is. haven't left. I was just searching. Okay, I found one more pearl to use here so they're even on both sides, because there's no way I would have been okay with that. So I'm threading on my last pearl here. Now that'll make it even, right? Tell me I'm not crazy. That'll make it even. That's a little BB pearl, but okay. So one last time. Around my fingers to create the loop. We're going to drop everything. I put 14 on the other side. How did I do that? I must have miscounted when I'm glad I had extras. Oh well, I'm glad you caught that. All right, hooking. And there we go. Okay, now we're even on both sides. We have the same amount of pearls on both sides. Right. Yes, we do. Okay, so now we need to add another bead tip over here to the other side. So I'm going to have to dig in my little box of bead tips. Look at my box of bead tips. To look for the one exactly like the one that I used just a second ago. Oh my goodness. Okay, there's one. Okay, now we're going to thread this one on, and this one we're actually going to thread on backwards because the knot's going to have to, we have to, like when we thread on the first one, we were closing it over a knot. This time we're threading it on first, and then we're going to put the knot into the middle of it. So we're threading it on backwards, which just means that the opening is kind of facing away from our beads. Okay. Now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to wrap around my fingers again. Drop down. Okay. And hook to bring up our knot. Now it's a little tricky because the bead tip is not really, the inside of that bead tip is not shaped. Lynn says, try the bead's natural habitat, the floor. I feel that deep down in my soul. But now we're going to do the same thing. Just treat it just like you would, a bead. It's just a little bit, it's just a little awkward. So that little knot's going to be on the inside there. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and trim some of this off for now. We will trim it shorter, but just to get the length out of my silk. So I have tons of silk left. I have enough silk to do a bracelet on Thursday. If you guys want to do another pearl project, I'm all for it. It's up to you guys though. Okay. So now I want to come in again with my hypo cement. And I'm going to just place a drop of that on one side of the bead tip. Okay. And close that back. Donna says, please do. Yay! More pearls. And you guys, you don't have to use pearls. I'm using pearls because I love pearls and they are really, really in style this spring and summer. They are everywhere. But guys, you can do this with your gemstone beads. You can do this with your crystals. You can do it with your glass beads. Like you don't have to do pearls. All right. So we're going to close our bead tip over that knot. Using my pliers just to get a really good tight closure on that. And then I'm going to come in with my cutter tool and trim off the rest of that silk. Okay. Now I need to do another little tiny baby loop with my round nose pliers. Maybe I'll get a glass of water and we'll actually ream the pearls together. Because I didn't do that the last time we did a bracelet. Would you guys like to see? I mean, it's not like it's the most interesting thing in the whole world, but it is something different that we haven't done. We can ream the pearls together if you want to. If you want that to be part of it. All right, so turn in my little loop here. Sorry, sometimes when I get to thinking, I stop moving. My hands stop moving when I'm thinking and talking. Okay. So there are our two little baby loops. We've got the center section of our necklace all ready to go. So, let's see. Cindy says, can you see my comment? Cindy, what did you... I do see your comments. You must have excellent eyes. I don't know about all that. Okay. That's funny. Fran says, pearls are a requirement in the Deep South. We are constantly clutching them, right? Same. Okay, so at this point, you can either go ahead and do the length of your necklace if you want to, or you can work on the pendant. Let's work on the pendant part because, I mean, that's the pretty part. So we have our big, beautiful bead here and our jump ring. And so for what I wanted to add to the rest of this was I wanted another one of these beads with some bead caps, some little beads, and then look at the fleur-de-lis I had. So I thought that would be very, very pretty. I know it's hard to see all in one shot, but yeah, so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to get a piece of wire here. Let's see. Hold on. I don't know how I didn't end up with all of my materials today. That's weird for me because I'm usually pretty prepared. So I'm going to grab a piece of 22 gauge wire. And I really would rather use like gray colored, but I'm going to use silver because I don't want to dig through my wire at the moment. So I'm going to do a wrap loop on both sides of this. So 22 gauge wire, I'm using German style. Okay. I'm going to come down. I've got, you know, more than I need here. It's like 6 inches. You don't need that much. You need like 3 inches. I'm going to bend the wire. I'm going to come in with my round nose pliers. I'm going to go up and over. Now I need to take that wire all the way over to the other side to close up my loop, but I can't because the round nose pliers are in the way. So I'm going to rotate the pliers. Now I can take the wire all the way over. Cindy says, do you use sterling silver? Not usually. Not usually. Only on very special occasions. I cannot afford. One day I'm going to be able to afford sterling silver wire, but today is not that day. So wrapped. Okay. I come in with my cutter tool and trim. All right, now I'm going to thread on my beads. So I'm going to thread on one of these little Swarovski faceteds. A little spacer that has, I believe those are Swarovskis as well. Drop down my bead. Another one of these. And that. Yeah, me too. Donna says, when I hit the lottery, I will use nothing but sterling silver. Me too. Me too. Today is not that day. Okay, so now I'm going to do a wrap sweep on this end, but I'm going to wire wrap it directly to our pendant. So I'm going to come in with my chain nose pliers, bend, and gold. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Come in, up and over, rotate, take the wire over. Now, before I do my wraps, I'm going to thread this on. So I'm just going to take the tail end of this wire, thread it through the loop of my pendant here. And I may need to, no, I got it. Thought my loop wasn't going to be big enough, but just snap those two together. And then I'm going to use my bent chain nose pliers to hold on to that loop. So now I can get in there and wire wrap. You can use a jump ring here if you want to. You don't have to do this part, but I like the added security of it just being attached with a wire wrap loop because this is kind of heavy. It's not super heavy, but I mean, you know. Okay, so now I'm going to trim off the wire. Make sure there's not any sticking out. If there is, you just want to come in and give it a squeeze to tuck that in. Okay, so this guy is ready. I'm just going to very carefully open up the jump ring. Thread on, and then I'm going to close that back. Okay, so there's the center. Oh gosh, this is going to be so pretty. Oh my goodness, it's going to be so pretty. So this is the center of our necklace coming up to our knotted pearls. Now for up here on the top, what I had intended to do was I'm going to take these two loops. I'm going to use some jump rings to attach our loops. And then I'm going to add some faux suede lace to this, I think. Like I said, I didn't think this one all the way through. I didn't actually execute it. I just grabbed the materials and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. So we're going to cross our fingers that it all works out. So jump ring here. I don't know if that's going to be enough, a big enough jump ring to fit this guy. We're going to try it. Yes, it will. Hooray! Oh, thank goodness. All right, so there's that. We'll do the same thing over on the other side. Now, as far as the faux suede lace or whatever kind of cording you want to use, you could just do one single strand of it and just do an over your head kind of necklace. But I think I'm gonna use a clasp. I don't know why I keep bringing in jump rings. Let's see. Vicky wants to know if you had worked if you've worked much with brass wire in different gauges. Not really. I haven't. Not really. I have not. So most of the wires that I use are copper core. So I've not worked with a lot of brass wire before. All right. So this might not be the best color for this, but I'm going to start with it. Oh my gosh. Silver silk would look amazing with this. Oh, I wish I had thought of that ahead of time. I don't think I've got enough. Sari silk would be pretty. Sari ribbons would be really pretty. Silver silk would look amazing on the top of this. But okay, I'm not going to dig. I'm not going to make you guys wait on me. We're just going to go with what I have already picked out here. But gosh, there are so many options. You could even use chain if you wanted to, you know. I mean, you can use whatever you want to for the length of your necklace. So I'm going to, let's see, let's try to be accurate in our measuring here. So I'm going to cut a 24-inch piece of my suede. I'm going to do 2 of those. And we can cut this down later if we need to. So as far as brass wire is concerned, like I use the brass color, but as far as like actual brass wire, I've not ever used actual brass wire that I can think of. Okay, so I've got 2 pieces of my suede. I'm going to take 2 ends together and let's do a lark's head. So let's see, I never can remember which direction to go. I'm going to 2 ends together to make a loop. Put my loop through the center and then pull my ends through that loop. It's going the wrong direction, isn't it? It's going to be going the wrong direction. Okay, try again. Go through the front. I'm kind of particular about which direction my knot faces, so I'm particular about a lot of things. You guys are so used to that by now. Like, I don't even have to explain it at this point. You're just like, yep, that's just the way she is. Okay, so I'm going to pull that down for that side. And I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other one with my other piece. So bring the 2 ends together and then find the center, make a loop, pull your ends through your loop. Pull that down. Now, if you want to, and I will go back in a little while to do it, I like to add some little drops of glue right there to the back of my knot on both sides, just so that it doesn't open itself up, right? It doesn't loosen itself up. Okay, now we're going to bring all the ends together just to make sure that everything is even. Looks pretty good. Okay, now, one at a time, I'm going to come to the end here, and I'm going to tie an overhanded knot. And this is not, you don't have to use this as your finishing technique, okay?
you can totally do however you want to do with your ends. You can use a cord end for these if you want, which I probably should have done, but we're just kind of making it up as we go. So I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other end. I like to make it up as I go, you know. Okay, pull my knot, and I'm going to try to evenly space these. Now, again, depending on what kind of hardware you're going to put on this, you can add some of your hypo cement to these knots as well. I am going to open up a jump ring. I'm going to thread it through my knot. And you actually could have tied this in your knot as you were tying, just really kind of up to you. But you'll see how, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to thread on one side of my clasp. Close those. And then I'm just going to repeat that over here on the other side. And you can trim your tails if you want to. Like, you know, your leather cord ends, they're so versatile. You can do so many different things with them. There's so many different finishing techniques. This is just one of those like kind of easy peasy, real quick finishing techniques. You totally don't have to, you know, do it this way. It's just if you're ever in a pinch and all you've got is jump rings, this is a good one to use. Okay, I'm going to close that back. Now, I don't know. Yeah, that'll work. It's not my favorite. In fact, I think I want to add another jump ring to this just so that it makes a little bit more sense. There we go. And so again, you can trim your ends off because I know not everybody likes to have all this crazy extra stuff sticking out. That may drive you crazy. If you want to add glue to your knots, you can cut those even shorter if you want to, and then they, you know, they won't bother you at all. But there's that. Okay, so our necklace is complete. I'm going to turn you around so you can see what this looks like hanging, because it's so hard to see and really kind of understand what it looks like when it's flat like this, especially up against this blue. It's like the worst ever. So I'm going to turn you guys around. Okay. All right. So grab the bust here and put my necklace on it. You are so welcome. All right. Now you can see, so we've got our loops up here. Again, this can be altered. You can make that part whatever you want to. And then we have our gorgeous knotted pearls and then our centerpiece here. And you can shorten that up if you want to. You know, you don't have to make it a long over your head necklace. It really, I don't know what my intentions were. I feel like it needs to be long just because we have such a kind of a heavy piece for down here at the bottom. But you know, it's up to you as far as like where you like your necklaces to fall. We had that whole shelf conversation, you remember? So that part's up to you, but for the most part, everything else is going to be the same. So the technique for, you know, knotting the pearls with the hand knotter, your turnaround down here at the bottom and then going back up, the technique for that's going to be the same no matter what. But then it's up to you to kind of alter the length and what you want for the long section there. And of course, what you want here in the center. But I think it turned out really beautifully. I feel like more than anything, well, two things. More than anything, pearls are going to go with everything. I mean, pearls just look beautiful no matter what you do to them. That's just the nature of pearls. But you can't go wrong with a fleur-de-lis. I mean,
this color combination is everything. Like, you could have just thrown it at the wall and been like, ooh, because the color combination looks good. I think the fleur-de-lis really kind of brings it all together. Janelda says, looks better with the leather than I thought it would, right? It's weird how things on the mat look so different, and then you put it all together and you're like, oh, that makes sense now. I get it. I get it. It's different, and it's really hard to see with that horrible blue background. So, yeah, it looks different. And it gives it, this is heavy. So keeping the pearls, they're nice and light. The leather is very light as well. So keeping the rest of the necklace lightweight keeps it from being one of those necklaces that you hate to wear, because by the end of the day, you've got a migraine in the back of your head. So I go to leather a lot, particularly this time of year. So there you go. Yeah. Cindy says, I can't believe how fast you made that piece. Ugh, I had lots of practice. Lots of practice. You can work it up fast too. You'll see the knotting technique, it works up really, really quickly when you get the hang of it. It just takes a minute. When you kind of get into the routine, just like with everything else, you get into a rhythm and then you realize how quickly you can work it up. Hand knotting is one of those things where, and there are a couple of other things that I feel this way about too, but hand knotting is one of those where I can literally sit and like watch TV. I'm looking at the TV. Everybody's like, where's she looking? I'm looking at my TV as I'm talking to you, because I will sit and watch TV and can knot things as I'm watching TV, because it just kind of becomes one of those, it's just a repetitive thing. So Donna says, you make it look so easy. It is easy. You can do this. All of you can do this. As always, I promise you, if you'll follow the steps, this is one of those techniques where the steps are really important. The direction of your cord, the direction of the way you hold the tool, all of those things are going to make it easy for you. If you mix up those steps, or if you're trying to do it another way just because it feels awkward, you're going to struggle with it and you're going to be like, I can't do this. So be sure, like, this is one of the only times where I will actually tell you the technique has to be what I showed you in order for it to work quickly for you. If you'll follow the steps exactly as I laid them out, you won't have any problems at all. And of course, if you do, you definitely can reach out to me and ask me questions. I am more than happy to help you with it. So it looks like a lot of you, let's see, hold on, there's a question. Let's see. Can you use the hand knotter with any shaped bead? Yes, you can. That's the brilliance. That's the brilliance of the tool. You can use whatever materials you want to use. You can use leather, you can use S-line, B-line, C-line, A-line, E-line. Those are not things, but I mean, they should be, because why? Anyway, ribbon, your silk cords, your cotton cords, you can use anything with your knotter tool, and in turn, any kind of bead that you want to. It doesn't just have to be a round bead. I love using the knotter tool with chip beads. When people are like struggling with chip beads, like they don't know what to do with them, one of my suggestions is always hand knot in between them, because it gives them such a different look, right? So you can use whatever you want to, which is amazing. How easily does the silk thread shed, if at all? I've never noticed any shedding. And I haven't really noticed much stretching either. I have had people tell me that if you don't pre-stretch your silk, that once you knot everything and gravity kind of takes over, it will pull, it will pull out lengths. So where you've knotted, all of a sudden it opens up the space. I've never had that happen with the Griffin silk. I've never had that problem. So a lot of people will wet it ahead of time, let it dry, pull out all of that stuff. It just seems like Elon sounds a bit musky. Oh, you have my sense of humor. I love it. But I've never had that problem. I haven't ever had it shed. I haven't ever, and when I think what she's asking is the shedding is like the dust. Sometimes when you use hemp that has not been soaked, it will dust, and I'm really allergic to hemp. I don't know that I've ever had that problem with the silk, at least from the Griffin silk. That's the, Beadalon and the Griffin silk. I think Beadalon silk is Griffin silk. Yeah, it is. It's all Griffin silk. It's the best. It really is the best. Now, if you buy it in like a vintage lot, I can't promise you that it won't shed, because I don't know, but they've changed the way that the silk is treated over the past probably 15 years. So, yeah. No, shed like come apart. I've not ever had it come apart on me. Shredding, not shedding. Well, I just went on a big long tangent about dust particles. But I've not ever had it shred on me. The only time that I have really had a problem is trying to pull it through a bead, like trying to pull the needle through a bead that won't fit more than once or twice, and ripping that needle off the end. When I rip the needle off the end, it does shred that end, and it makes it fray, and it makes it, you know, it'll come undone. But as far as like in a piece of jewelry is concerned, I've not ever had that problem. So I'm a huge fan of the Griffin silk. Hello, Griffin silk people. Hope you're watching. Somebody send this to them. But yeah. 0.5 millimeter leather shouldn't have a problem. It is a little trickier. You're going to find that the different materials will feel differently. Technique 100% the same, but the feeling of it is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to find that there are certain materials that you're going to have to go a little slower with, and leather is going to be one of those. You want to go a little bit slower, and you don't want to pull super tight through your yoke here with leather that has like a color. So like if you've got a leather that has like, it's, you know, it's got a layer of blue on it, you don't want to accidentally pull through the yoke so hard that you're stripping that blue layer away. You know what I'm saying? It really just kind of depends on how your leather has been treated. It can be broken if you pull it too hard. Yes. Oh, thank you guys so much. So do you guys, I feel like I might have missed a couple of questions here. Do you guys want to see the starting and finishing method? I've already showed it once before, but I feel like since we're revisiting pearls, we may as well. Let me know how you feel about that. I did see a lot of people saying, yes, please do it. So if that's the case, we'll make another knotted project on Thursday, and we'll do the pearls. I'll get a glass of water, which is probably going to be a disaster, but it'll be a fun one to watch. And we will ream the pearls together, and then we'll do the start and finishing technique. I think we will. Yeah, I'm getting lots of yeses for that and hearts. So that's what we'll do. So just plan on Thursday. We'll do another knotted project, and I'll have water, and that will be not nearly as dangerous as fire, but I mean, still. You guys, I'm super clumsy. So Cindy says, absolutely, please. You got it. You got it. All right, so that is it for me here, you guys. I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me for this project. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you are, I don't even know what I was going to say. Oh, if you have, not if you are, that's where I got, my brain just stopped. If you have questions about this technique, please don't hesitate to reach out. I am more than happy to help you. I will tell you that sending messages to the Sara Ellis Designs business page on Facebook is probably the worst way to get in touch with me, just because I very rarely see those messages. But if you would like to reach out me through Messenger, just, you know, if we're not friends, make friends with me. Let's be friends. And then you can ask me questions. I see those messages a lot faster. So yeah, just keep that in mind. All right, that is it for me, you guys. I am sorry for those of you this morning. I forgot to send out a text. If you are, you know, if you're part of the texting, I completely flaked this morning and did not send out a group text to everybody, but I will get back on that. You'll get a group text for Thursday as a reminder for our live, okay? And for the rest of you who are going to be seeing me later on the paid group, I've got a fun project for you guys. Can't wait for you to see it. If not, I will see you guys on Thursday with another fun project. You have a great rest of the afternoon and a great week, you guys. Bye.